and welcome here to Talk FCB, and welcome back to the Champions League, as it is time to face Paris Saint-Germain. The reigning champions are in town. It is Hansi Flick up against Luis Enrique today. And I'm quite honestly, guys, I'm actually feeling a bit under the weather today. Of all the times it had to arrive now, but we got a lot to talk about. Nothing can get in the way of this fixture. How are Barca going to line up? And we're going to be hearing from Flick and Pedri ahead of this one. Let's get to it now. Come on. Now, today's big match preview is coming to you courtesy of the One Football app. That is your place to stay updated on everything that is happening in the Champions League right here this week. And what I would like you guys to do is go ahead here and get involved in the predictions. You know, for me, I think Barca will win. And 68% of people right now, 26,000 have voted. They are all voting in favour of Barca. And as you can see right here, when we come down to the form guide, both teams are very, very strong coming into this game. The only blip that PSG have had recently was against their big rivals in Marseille. And we can also see right here more predictions for you to get involved with. So please, guys, if you would like to download the One Football app for free, check out the link down below. And I'm absolutely sure you are going to enjoy it. Because make no mistake about it, guys, on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. local time, Barca will face PSG at Montjuic. Ideally we would love this kind of game inside of the new Camp Nou, but of course we're not quite there yet, but still should be a great atmosphere inside of the Olympic Stadium. And I do believe it's a big game. It's an important game very early on in the season here, early as well in the Champions League phase. But I think it's a very important game for Barca to understand where we are. Where are we at in terms of our quality right now? How confident can we feel going into a game here against opponents who are top level? They really are. What Luis Enrique has done at PSG has been absolutely outstanding. The way they did go all the way to the title in the Champions League last season, it was heroic in many ways from PSG, and they do have so much individual quality, but they work as a collective. There's lots of things here you'd actually say, looking at the Luis Enrique team, looking at the Hansi Flick team at Barca, there are definitely similarities there, and that's what makes this game very, very interesting. Both teams are going to be looking to press. They're both going to be working very, very hard. They want the ball. They want to recover the ball very, very quickly. So I think we're going to see a lot of energy out there. We're going to see a lot of high pressing. We're going to see both teams taking on risks. And certainly here for the neutral, I'm sure it will be an absolutely mouth-watering occasion on Wednesday. However, guys, we do just have to say that, this game has been impacted by injury problems on both sides, to be honest. We've spoken about very early on in the season here, so many teams are picking up injuries. It's a result of perhaps the calendar that we are seeing in the modern game. And PSG right here are going to be without the Ballon d'Or winner, Ousmane Dembele, Marquinhos. They also will not be able to count upon Doué or Kvaratskhelia in this game. But I think what's really, really key for PSG, they are missing there some very important attacking players. But you do look at that midfield. That is where their games really are won and lost. The way they're able to control that midfield, the energy they get from their midfield as well. And Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz and João Neves, they are all included in the squad. They've all had some fitness concerns. Whether they'll be absolutely 100% ready to go for the full 90 minutes, we don't know. But it is important for PSG that those midfield players are there, they are available, and we will need to stop them. However, on that, I have absolutely no fear, because we have a pretty formidable midfield of our own. We have really, really enjoyed recently the duo of Frenkie de Jong and Pedri in midfield. They have been absolutely unbeatable in that area, and I can't wait to see them again, put under a bit of pressure. I want to see it, just like we saw against Newcastle there, whereby they're going to try and get amongst it. PSG are going to try and put real pressure on these players, but they can evade that press. They have the quality, the ability to bypass PSG. And again, that could definitely be where the game is won and lost. And Pedri right here today, he faced the media in the pre-match press conference, and he said, this is one of the best matches that could be played right now at club level. I think everybody recognises that here. The players who are taking part in this game, they understand this is a big matchup. This is a big deal here early in the season. And Pedri said it's going to be a fantastic spectacle. But what I thought was really important as well, he was asked a question there in the press conference about becoming more of a leader at Barca. I think we all see him still as quite a young player. He's been around for a long time, but he is still relatively young in the grand scheme of things. But he said, look, the coach wants me to take on more of a leadership role. He wants me to take that step forward, not only on the field, but also in the locker room. And he did admit, it's been tough for me because I arrived at Barcelona as a kid, really, but I'm starting to feel more important in the dressing room and I'm taking on more of that leadership role. And I thought it was really fascinating, actually, that later on in that press conference there, Hansi Flick said himself, I really do listen to Pedri. If he comes to me and he said he doesn't always agree with me, we don't always share the same opinions. And when Pedri speaks up and, speaks out about something, I will listen to him. I really enjoy that feedback and I really enjoy listening to Pedri's perspective. So I think right here, that relationship between Flick and Pedri, it's absolutely incredible. And what he has done with this young man, it's been extraordinary. His level has elevated beyond any doubt. He is right up there with the best players in the world. You can't doubt that. No matter what the Ballon d'Or says, they know nothing. Pedri is top draw. But I do think, guys, there is also going to be plenty of emphasis tomorrow night on the defensive side of that Barca team. Like I say, we are going to take risks. We're not just going to suddenly change our style. We're going to be playing that high line. We are going to be stepping up. We're going to be trying to catch PSG offside. And Flick was asked there in the press conference about that centre-back pairing. Do you know what your best pairing is? Do you have a favoured partnership? We keep seeing a lot of changes at centre-back. And I thought Flick's answer was very, very interesting because he actually said, it's not that we haven't found the formula. It's not that we don't have a pairing, but it's more to do with the fact here that we approach each match depending on the opponent. Each team is different, they have different threats, and we select the partnership based upon those threats. So it almost sounds there like Flick does know, if it came down to it, who would his best pairing be? I think he knows that. He's got that in his locker, but we have seen a lot of change. We've seen Eric Garcia in that area as well. We've seen Christensen step up. We've seen Araujo come back in this season. Of course, you've got Pau Cubarsí. There's a lot of quality there, and Flick seems to sort of pick it depending on the opponent. So what will we see against PSG then? Will that include Ronald Araujo, who of course had a difficult time against PSG 2 seasons ago, and Flick was asked in his press conference there about Luis Enrique's words that of course emerged there in the documentary when he basically talked about his players targeting Araujo in terms there of Barca playing out of the back, looking to use the ball. If you're going to put pressure on one player, close down Araujo because you can force him maybe into a few more mistakes. And Flick was asked, do you take that into account? Do you bear that in mind now? But Flick said, no, I don't. He said, that has happened in the past. This situation now is very different. He said, I have full confidence in Ronald Araujo. He's incredible. He's so strong. He's physically fantastic. He is ready for this game. And as he's shown in the previous matches, he is playing at a very good level. I am happy with him there. So a real show of confidence again in Araujo. Flick has really been trying to build him up, getting that confidence back. And we have seen him put in some excellent performances of late. Will he start tomorrow? And should he against Paris Saint-Germain? Because in terms of our starting lineup, guys, it is a very, very big night for Szczesny, who of course is stepping into the big shoes already that Joan Garcia has certainly made his own at the club. He's been fantastic since signing, but this is a big night for Szczesny. Joan Garcia out injured. Szczesny played a lot of Champions League games last season, knockout games as well. He's no stranger to this kind of occasion, and I do have confidence in him. Now, right back for me, I think it will be Jules Koundé. He played so well, in my opinion, against Newcastle. Another game there we are put under a lot of pressure, on the ball, off the ball as well. Physically stood up to every challenge that came his way. And at centre-back, I think we are going to continue with Araujo there alongside Pau Cubarsí. If I had to go the way of one or the other right now, I think Araujo will get the nod. But at left-back, as much as we'd love to see Balde here, he did train yesterday, he's been absolutely fine so far this week, but I think it's still going to be Gerard Martin. He's been filling in pretty well. This is a big step up, of course. He's going to be put under pressure, and it's another one of those players that if he is in the lineup, PSG, they are probably going to look to target him. That's what Newcastle tried to do. They had a little bit of joy with Alanga down that right-hand side, so PSG will try and do the same, but Balde could come off the bench if absolutely necessary. But then, of course, into midfield, you've got to start with the tried and trusted duo of Frenkie and Pedri. And like I say, I feel confident up against anyone. You know, you give me any midfield opposition here, I'm going to be confident with Frenkie and Pedri lining up for me there. They can take care of the ball. They can make the right passes. They can also slice open PSG when those windows of opportunity just open for Barca. And I'm excited to see them take on the responsibility of really running this game. Now, we are going to have Lamine Yamal back in the starting lineup, and boy, how good was he? You know, how good was he when he came on against Real Sociedad at the weekend? He returned from his injury in some style, an instant reminder of what he can do, the way that he can dictate matches and basically play them on his own terms. And I cannot wait to see him playing here against PSG. He can cause them problems. They are going to need to double up, triple up on him, and that is why the rest of our attack is very, very important. Dani Olmo, he needs a big game. You know, I'd love to see Dani Olmo right here against PSG step up. You know, let's see what you can do. Show us again your absolute best quality, because we are going to need him to get on the ball. You know, we can't afford the game to just pass him by there in midfield, and we are going to need him to help out as well. Frenkie and Pedri behind him. You've also got then the threat of Marcus Rashford. I think he actually gives us something very different in this kind of game. He's also had some decent success, by the way, in the past against PSG as a Man United player. So Rashford here, he's going to continue the fine form that we've seen from him recently. But then as the number 9, apparently it's not going to be Lewandowski. The rumours in the media right now is that Lewandowski is going to drop to the bench, and that may have been indicated by the fact that he played 90 minutes against Real Sociedad. The media are basically asking the question, would he have played the whole game if Flick was planning on starting him on Wednesday against PSG? And the media believe that it will be Ferran Torres. And the reason behind that would be, we need every single player pressing like crazy. You know, this is a game where you can't afford any passengers. You cannot afford for any one player to let the side down. You've got to be working hard. You've got to be running. You've got to be on the ball here. We need pace. We need dynamism. We need athleticism. And that may be why Ferran Torres gets the nod. And it would be a massive night for him. You know, these are the kinds of games that he wants to be playing. He wants to be starting. He's tried to earn that place. This could be a big night for him. A massive night to perform and score the goals that could win us this game. So in terms of my pre-match prediction, you know, what is the scoreline going to be in this one? And honestly, I'm speaking with my heart right now. You know, my head says it's going to be very, very close. My head says that this game may just sort of change on one moment. You know, it could be a mischance here. It could be a foul there, a penalty given away. You don't know what's going to happen, but I think it is going to be really, really tight, but enjoyable. I'm looking forward to the game that we have ahead of us here, but I am going to go with a Barca win. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think you can expect end-to-end action, you know, lots of goals in this one. I'm going to go Barca 3, Paris Saint-Germain 2. How about that? A 5-goal affair. But Barca coming out on top, guys. Please do let me know, what are your thoughts? What are your predictions? And please go ahead, download the OneFootball app, log your predictions there. Let's get Barca fever spreading everywhere to all corners of the earth. Thank you indeed here for tuning in. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. What an occasion it will be. And let's hope we are celebrating come the end of it, guys. I will see you then. But until next time, as always, Veshka, Barca.